So, I finally found the time to record the next video. Yeah, I've been a little bit busy with stuff for university, so originally it should have been October, mid-October, 15th or something like that, but it took me a few days longer, but oh well. Okay, same as last time, I'll try to keep it a little bit shorter, but I probably won't be able to, or let's hope I can do it. I'll try to keep the stats part shorter, because I don't even know if anyone is really interested in seeing this stuff. And otherwise I'll go over reading, listening, speaking, and eventually what I want to change from now on, or things I'd like to challenge. I don't know what kind of books or so I'd like to read, and I found something. I'll talk about it at the end. Okay, so stats in the beginning. Yeah, this one I'll just keep as short as possible because nothing changed. I just continued adding stuff till today. 400, I don't know, something entries, and I've had a few like here where I didn't add any because I reached 10,000. I'm over 10,000 right now, but as you can see, I started doing it again, and I'll explain a little bit when I get to it. Current stats, same thing. I think I'll just skip it. Most of the stuff will be in snapshot and so on, so you get a better overview of what changed. And I changed here the setting to, where is it here, end of March, because I'll just continue recording my stuff as I've been doing till today, maybe even longer, maybe up to 3 years or so. I don't know, as soon as I get fed up I'll stop doing it, but I'm still having fun doing it, whatever you want to call it. It's just interesting. Okay, next thing. Yeah, this was one of the last things I added, the XP bar. I'm at 98. I'll probably end up going over 100. I'll explain a little bit when I go to reading and listening, when I understand stuff. Not necessarily, won't necessarily talk again about this one, but how much I do understand, because my original idea was that at 4,000 hours you will be level 100 right here. I think it was 4,000, yeah, something like this, and you'll be able to understand 95% plus of what you're reading and listening to, and yeah, I don't think I'll make it. It will probably take a little bit longer, but like I said, I'll talk about my understanding and how it feels right now later on. Yeah, snapshot. This thing is still automatic. You'll see in the stats what happened. A lot of red, as you can see. Not as good, but oh well. Okay, sources. Yeah, I stopped adding stuff, at least over here in the anime section, because I probably, oh shit, if I add everything, maybe if I have the time, I'll add the stuff I've watched in the last few weeks, months, or I don't know, but it would probably be somewhere around here. Yeah, as you can see, books didn't progress as much. I read this one. It's the, I think Matt mentioned it in one of his videos. What was it called in English? Talent is overrated or something like that. And I found the Japanese translation and I started reading it. So that's this one. But like I said, more when I'm getting to reading. So same here, immersion time listening. So as you can see, pretty much consistent with some spikes in between, but it hasn't really gone down. Like it says here, it's just the listening part, nothing else. Yeah, NHK would be easy. It's a long time ago. Okay, added sentences. Yeah, as you can see, some days I've added none. Like I said, I reached 10,000, so I just stopped adding for a few days because I wanted to take a little break, but I started again. Especially because I finally started using Morphman after I don't know how long, plus using Met vs. Japan's add-on, the where it adds automatically the reading and the pitch accent of the words in a sentence, and it saved me so much time in addition to Morphman. So from the beginning, I think in the beginning I was always, for 25 sentences it took me about 1 hour 20, and now I got down, so in the last few weeks I got down, thanks to those two add-ons, I got down to about 20 minutes. And last time I just took one day, took an hour and 20 and created 120 cards or so. So it's been getting a lot faster. Okay, native versus wild, nothing changed. Still completely in Japanese. I don't use English anymore. So all my cards are completely in Japanese sentence, and same for the definition. Unknown words and definition, same thing, didn't change. And this one was, what was it? Yeah, reading and listening combined, I think. I seriously have to add a caption for this one. Well, why is this so long? Oh, it's today. Okay, yeah, so as you can see, some days pretty high, but a downwards trend, sadly. I don't know why, maybe a little bit, but you will see in a few seconds when we get to the next few graphs. Immersion and Anki ratio, that's one where I have a positive trend. So as you can see, from the beginning till today, my Anki ratio has been going down consistently. In the beginning, I would still remember, I didn't record at that time, so I don't have exact numbers, but when I was doing RTK, the first 4 months, Anki took me about 2.5, 3 hours, something like that, and now I'm down to most of the time below 1 hour, and that's where I want to keep it at. It takes me, like I said, about 20 minutes to create cards and about 30 to 40 minutes to review them, and that's, for me, that's a good place. I will continue adding cards, but I will reduce the amount of cards I add as soon as I start going over 1 hour, but I don't think I will. So basically this 1 hour combined reviewing and creating cards, not only reviewing, because reviewing 40 minutes is enough. It can be a little bit, it can be funny using Anki, and it's really interesting to see your stats go up, so basically how much sentences you've added, but reading and watching stuff is definitely more interesting. Yeah, as you can see from, what do we have in the beginning? 59% for listening and basically the rest for Anki, and now I've been up to about 90%, so basically only 10% of the time I spend is spent doing Anki or spent creating cards. So next one, unknown words in normal articles. Yeah, exactly. That's the one where I, from the beginning, where I record here the amount of characters in an article and the amount of unknown words. So for all the articles I've read in a day, I try to get away from reading news as much. I mean, it's okay because the amount of unknown words got down, but I've read them too much. When I go into reading, I'll explain a little bit more what happened and why I want to change it. So, but yeah, as you can see, it went down consistently. Sometimes I even get articles with 0 words, 0 unknown words. And that's the more interesting part, exactly. The complete overview. So basically this was for the different time spans, 30, 60, 90 days and so on, how much time I spent on each of those categories. So Anki time total for the blue one, reading time for the red one, yellow is listening, green is listening and reading combined, and the orange one is just the time overall. So as you can see, the time overall went down a little bit because I've been really busy with work and university. So, but I'm still pretty happy. Most of the time I get definitely 5 hours plus, and most of the time 6 hours plus. And if I really have the time, like today, I'll probably get more, maybe 8 hours or more than that, because I just came back from my sister's birthday and I had to get up early to get the train back here, and the train ride took me roughly 2 hours, and in those 2 hours I did all my reps, my Anki reps and was able to read about 1 hour 50, 1 hour 30, something along those lines. Yeah, but the best part here, as you can see, for the last 60 days, so over 60 days, if you look right here, my reading has finally overtook my Anki time. So Anki's been going down consistently, but I guess, like I said, it will stay at about an hour. But reading has gone up. For the last week, I've had a few days where I read 3 hours, 2.5, 1.5. So I tried to increase my reading a little bit. And then sentences added. Yeah, as I said, I'll continue adding sentences, and sure, it's gone down because I stopped a little bit for a few days or longer. Yeah, but I think 20 for me right now is a good pace. If I go above 1 hour for reviewing and creating cards, I'll change it again, but right now I think 20 is fine, especially since I'm using Morphman and most of the cards are pretty short, so they don't take as much time to review, and they even stick a little bit better. At least that's my current feeling about it. Could change in the future. Okay, yeah, and this is just Anki versus Immersion in percent. So as you can see from the beginning, Immersion 60% and Anki basically 40% of my time, and now it changed to 80% for Anki. Why is it so different? Oh, I know what's the problem. Okay, so this one is the correct one. I'm sorry. There's a little error. Not here. Down here. Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly this one. But oh well, I'll fix it later. Okay, so normally you'd see this one going up a little bit more towards the 90%, as it's been in the other graph. But yeah, I'll fix it later on. Okay, I think that's enough for those stats. Last thing. Okay, Anki. So as you can see, I finally got up to 10,666. Yeah, my ratio for all the different types of cards, I'm pretty happy for 91%, 91.8% for mature cards. And as you can see, I don't have any leeches. I have them. I have to guess maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 a week. I don't know. In the beginning, I even started adding another Anki deck where I took all the leeches I had and switched them over into this deck, because in my main deck the ease factor is increased to 250%, so the cards mature a lot faster. But in this deck it's the normal 100%. In the beginning, or a few months ago, I did it for a short while, just to, I don't know, I had the idea I have to remember those words, they are leeches, I just need to see them more often. But then I realized most of the time I don't see those words, and I just stopped doing this. And in the end, most of the time it isn't even a problem that the sentence is strange or so. It's just there are some words that stick from the start, and there are some words that take forever. I still can remember some of the words in the beginning where it took me forever to remember them, and now I don't even have to look closely when they are appearing in a text or when they are said. I don't have to concentrate. I just know what they mean because I've seen them so often. So in this case, I just reset them. I don't really care. They don't take up as much time. If I really notice a big difference, that let's say I don't know, about 10% of my time is spent on cards that are really I never see, and I feel like it takes too much time from my review time, then I might change and delete them, or I don't know. But right now it's I can't even express it in numbers. I don't think it's making a big difference, so I'll just keep it as it is and just continue. Yes, I've been doing this for the last, I don't know, 3 months or so, and it's worked fine. There are even some words that were leached a few times before, and since just ignoring it and skipping them, and just every time they come up I either pass or fail them, and after a while even they started to stick. So I'll just continue like this. Okay, I think that's pretty much it for this part. Yeah, Okay, I think I've got it all. Okay, 1 second. Oh, so small point. I hope the video quality, at least for this part we did, was a little bit better, because I tried to change the settings in OBS Studio, but I'm not too sure it worked the way I wanted to. And the one with the video right now, with the camera, I don't think I can change anything. The camera isn't as good, so I'm really sorry that I can't change the quality of this one. But I at least tried to change the video recording itself. I hope it's better than last time. 1 second, I have to take some coffee. Okay, reading first. Most of my reading has been news articles, NHK, some Wikipedia articles for my for my degree. I started reading, let's say we talked about, I don't know, anemia or so, and I looked up in the Japanese Wikipedia and read some articles in there, so I started doing that a little bit. But most of my reading has been news articles. For the last 6 months has been news articles, and a little bit here and there some books, and yeah, manga a little bit. But like I said, mostly switched to news, but I think I'm regretting it right now. Not really regretting, but that's another reason why I will continue adding cards from now on. If I had to guess, I'd say about 50% of my cards are from, my Anki cards are from news or from Wikipedia or stuff like that. So there aren't that many sentences from anime and so on. And the way basically I notice it when I'm reading stuff in the news, I have basically no problem if it's NHK or whatever, any other site. There are only really rarely words I don't know. Sure they are, but most of the time I can just read through an article even without looking anything up, and I get pretty much everything. But when it comes to anime and so on, there are still a lot of words missing because the vocabulary is just too different. So from now on I will just try to add more vocabulary or more sentences from anime, but I will continue because I still feel that missing vocabulary is the biggest reason I don't understand stuff, beside some small other reasons I'll go into when I'm going over listening. But reading overall, news reading has improved even more from last time. I can understand them easily, so most of the time I can fly over them and get the gist of it. The easiest ones are sure when it's about the weather, about murder, about, I don't know, speeding on the highway or something like that. Articles about politics related stuff, if it's about a bill or something like that, they passed a new bill, then it's getting a little bit more complicated because I don't like reading those articles as much, so I tend to skip them. Most of the time I just read the articles I find interesting from the title. Yeah, but it got better, even in this part, despite not reading them as often. But otherwise I noticed quite a big difference. Like I said in the resources or stuff I used section, that I haven't read as many books, because I've not even in German I like to read books, at least when it comes to fantasy stuff. I never really liked that. I like reading books in regard to nutrition and training, so basically all around those topics. And that's the majority of the literature I read in English, and I haven't really started reading that many of them in Japanese. Last time I already read one, but I have another one I want to read, and I think I will start. I don't have to start, but I want to start reading a little bit more in those categories. But I also now try to read fantasy novels and so on again. I'll try to focus a little bit more time on them. But even though I haven't spent as much time in those categories, I just went back like today or the last few days where I read this much, I started reading the second book from Rise of the Shield Hero, and honestly, I have no problems understanding it. Sure, there is here and there you have a sentence that you don't understand, or that's a little bit harder to understand. But I also completely stopped rereading. Most of the time, if I don't grasp a sentence on the first go, I just continue. I don't want to waste as much time. So yeah, in the end, after I finished the first book, I even recorded the amount of sentences I got out of it, because I mined every word. And in the end, I got 255 sentences out of it. I did the same thing for the second book for a while, for the first 25% of the book, roughly. And I already got less in comparison to the first book. So I guess if I'd continue like this, then in the end it would go down 250, 50, 200, 150, and so on for the following books. But I won't continue. And this one I stopped even mining. I think I read another 30-40% of the book. I'm just over halfway through, no, 60% or so I am right now. And I haven't mined for the last 30% or so. So yeah, and I also noticed that most of the words, or many of the words, they do repeat and they stick after a while. I don't think I'll have any problems. They'll repeat them probably a lot more later on. So yeah, that's the biggest difference I noticed, despite not reading as much. I mean, it's only light novel, so it's not that complicated, but I'm still happy despite not reading in this genre for the last months. I'm still able to read them really, really fast. I think I don't even know how many pages I was able to read today, but it doesn't take that long. So I'll try to up my book reading a little bit. I would be really, really happy. I haven't looked yet, but maybe somebody knows if they have the Warhammer 40k books in Japanese. That would be awesome. I've read one or two that were basically the only books I read during my childhood years were Warhammer 40k, but only two or so. Like I said, I normally hate reading. I don't know why, but I'm slowly getting into it, or I try to get into it. Yeah, and just maybe I can sum it up in numbers. I'd say depending on the text. Now, if I leave vocabulary out of it, because that's something you can't control, there's just what you don't know. So sure, yes, it does reduce your understanding, sure, but I just leave it out for now. Overall, I'd say if I know all the words, depending on the text I'm reading, between 80 to 95 plus percent. So in news, it feels like 95% or more. Sure, I'm probably missing some nuances here and there, but otherwise I'm fine. In those books, I'd guess, in the Rise of the Shield Hero books, I guess about 80%, 85% or more. I'm really bad at guessing this. And in Wikipedia articles, if they get a little bit more complicated, then yeah, sure, it goes down to 80%. But most of the time, even they are easy. But it also depends on the article. So some I read a few, some are a little bit harder. It depends on the illness I'm reading about. So it's really hard to put it into numbers, because it just depends so much on what you're reading. If you already read a lot in this genre, or you don't, or whatever. So, but I'm really comfortable, and yeah, I think I'll just continue like this. I'm really impressed what you can achieve in such a short amount of time. I mean, right now I'm at about I have to look it up. I don't really know how many hours I've spent. Just wait a second, I'll show you. Where am I? XP or current stats. So where are we? Yeah, right here. So as you can see, 3,926, And this is just, again, this is the calculations if I continue like this. So basically in 31st of March, this one, it's not right. No, it's right, till the end, yeah. So about 5,000 hours till March 2020, if I continue like this, but we'll see. And this one is what I spent till today. This one as well, I think I explained it last time, probably isn't 100% correct, because there are some calculations involved. It calculates from the start, and the first 4 months I didn't record anything. I was just watching some stuff, watching anime and doing RTK, so there is probably a little bit less overall. But this here, right here, is what I definitely recorded, so I definitely spent 3,403 hours in what I recorded, 466 days. So that's the amount of days I definitely recorded, so I spent this much time. It's quite a lot over only just over a year and 100 days. But you can make an enormous progression from the beginning, and I'm really, really happy with that. Okay, so I think we can go to listening. Yeah, as always, listening is the hardest part, but I made a ton of progress, definitely. I understand a lot more. And here comes the part where I said that I mined probably 50% or maybe even more of my cards from news and Wikipedia articles. So a lot of vocabulary that's, let's say, everyday life, whatever that means in that regard, I do understand. So when I start watching documentaries, I found a few good channels for that. What was it? Kojo Eiko. So basically they don't have as many episodes. They go into different factories and show how, for example, tofu is made and stuff like that. And I understand pretty much everything easily. And the best part is you start to remember words you don't even know, you don't even need probably in your whole life. One of the episodes was about an ice factory, and they described how the ice is made, how they make it really pure, and what they have to look out for. And the box they make the ice in is called hyoka. I don't know if I ever need this. But that's the stuff you remember. So, as always, the most useful stuff is the stuff that sticks with you. But yeah, now I have hyokan in my head. Now I have to think about ice boxes. Okay, yeah. Otherwise, I found a longer series it's probably a little bit older, I guess, from the video quality and recording and so on, from 1990 or so. They have about 180 episodes, where they also go into where they show production processes of different stuff, and that's also pretty interesting. That's a little bit harder to understand, but it's still easy. So overall, stuff like that, documentaries or so, are most of the time pretty easy. I also started watching, it's a Japanese teacher, and he teaches, at least in the series I've been watching from him. I have to find it, maybe I'll link it down below. I'll try to link all the stuff I've mentioned down below. He talked about, he teaches Japanese history for, I can't remember which level it was, but it was a little bit higher, and he starts from way back. What was it called? I bet now I can't come up with the name. Kyoseki Chidai. I'm not sure. I have to look it up. But yeah, it was pretty interesting, and you learn a lot of useful words. So for all old tools and how the different time periods are called and stuff like that. But I'm just happy that I understood it. And yeah, so this stuff is easy. And when it comes to anime, so basically what probably most people here are watching, or most people learning with the Mia, with Matt's approach, it's gotten a lot better. But as I said before already, it really depends on what you're watching. So in one show you're watching, you think, wow, I understand almost everything. I'm close to fluency. And then in the next episode, in the next show you're watching, you feel like you understand nothing. Not nothing, but a lot less. For example, I watched, example for a show where I understood less. Mahoka no Rettose, I think it was called. So in English it's the irregular at the Magical Academy or something like that. I understand, I would guess 70% plus, but I'm watching on a site that's predominantly for German people. I don't know, they upload in with English and German and stuff like that. And somebody wrote that most of the time when they start, because that's the big stuff I had problems understanding, they start talking about the magic, how it works, so probably a lot of details, really technical, and even they wrote that even though they use the subtitles, they just space out because it's just too much stuff that's not really interesting, and that's a point where you will probably have a lot of problems understanding it, but I think that's to be expected. If it's really, really technical, most of the time those words aren't used as often, so your exposure is too limited to really be at the stage that you can hear it like nickel and understand what they said. But yeah, this just takes a little bit longer. But overall, slice of life, pretty much everything. Still stuff missing, but I'd say 90-95% plus. Sure, you have outliers where you understand less, but most of the time it definitely went up. But I still notice that I mind a lot from news and from Wikipedia articles, because I feel like in anime, as compared to watching I don't know, those building shows or documentaries, that I have a limited vocabulary, that there are still a lot of words missing that you will never read in a news article or you will never hear in a documentary. It's just a different set of words that they use, expressions, casual speech and stuff like that. I don't think that by in listening my main problem is that I don't hear the sounds or stuff like that. I've spent about 2,300 hours in listening, so I'm pretty confident in that. I think if I had to say my top 3 reasons, I'd say the first one is vocabulary, so that I just miss words, and that's why I will continue adding them in Anki and just continue listening. The second one is, what would be the second one? Words are missing. Yeah, that I haven't heard some words, or there are words that are a little bit rare, so you don't hear them as much, and you take it just a little bit longer to get the meaning. So basically you hear them and it takes you a millisecond to come up with the meaning, and most of the time if it's one complicated word, they tend to come in groups, and then you have a long sentence with a lot of complicated words, and yeah, that's pretty hard to understand, so you just have to hear them more and more, and after a while you will be able to understand them. But this is only second place, and third place is maybe the exposure to words in general, so basically that a word gets used in a different setting than normally, and I haven't heard it in a similar setting, so I get confused with meaning in this context, and this can throw you off sometimes as well. But overall, I'd say I'm really, really happy with the result. I just think continuing like this and it will get a lot better, especially, like I said, words. I think this is the biggest difference. My goal is about 1,300 words or sentences in Anki by the end of the 2-year mark, and I don't know how long I'll continue adding cards, but as long as I think that vocabulary is my biggest problem, I will continue doing it, and if I have fun with it, I'll even continue afterwards. I'll stop as soon as I just think I don't need it anymore, or as soon as it just bores me or so. I don't know. Maybe I'll stop at the 2-year mark, maybe at 3 years, maybe later. I don't really plan for this, but for now I'll continue using this, especially, like I said, trying to mine as much as possible from anime, thanks to Morphman, and yeah, see how it goes. But overall, just listening as much as possible, I understand most of it, and the more and more I understand, the easier it is, especially if it's a good show. And the more often I notice that I get lost in the show and just don't pay attention to how much I understand, I just listen. And sometimes after an episode ends or so and I'm back into reality, I realize, wow, I understood almost everything. Wow, it was easy, great. But yeah, it goes up, and like I said, depending on the show, you can have a completely different experience. It can be really hard or really easy. Yeah, but that's just the nature of things. Okay, speaking first. Speaking, yeah, probably, as most of you guessed, none. I don't plan, but I have one experience I can share, and overall my feeling, because what I started doing, that sometimes I try to imagine if let's say I had a conversation with a friend and I try to, there's a sentence that stuck out to me, and I try to think about if I would be able to express this sentence in Japanese. And the amount of stuff I could express, maybe not 100% in the same way, but similarly, has increased a lot, definitely. I can notice it. But there's still enough stuff missing. And it feels like, if I had to describe it easily, it feels like a giant fence with a lot of wood. So and in this fence, there are some plates missing. So basically, there's a sentence I can say, and a sentence I can't. I can say, I can't. I can say, I can't. Like this. So there's still too much missing, but like I said, it did get a lot better. I don't really speak, same as last time. I just voice my Anki cards from time to time, but otherwise I don't really bother with speaking because I already noticed that it's getting better. And I can give you a good example for this one. So, about half a year ago or so, I went to a Japanese class in my university because we have the option to take one. I didn't take it to really learn anything. I have the tendency to sleep really long if I don't have any need to get up. And for the last semester and this semester as well, I always, on Fridays, I don't have any classes. And if I don't have any classes and I don't have to get up, sometimes it can get pretty late. And I hate it. I hate getting up late, but if it happens, I can't help it. It's just, I can't get out of bed. Yeah, so, and this class is in the morning at 10 a.m. So I have to get up I get up at 8 a.m. and do some Anki reviews, and then went to that class. And there I had a pretty good experience, which showed me that all the immersion does work again. I'm saying again because I had the same experience with English, since I'm speaking it right now, and like I think I mentioned it before, in school I sucked at English. In German, if you had to put it in German terms, not in a sentence, but in our marks in the end, I always had 4 or 5, and 5 is pretty much you failed. So I was always between fail and passing. Just passing. Yeah, and this moment in this class was the first moment that I noticed that it's working again, because sometimes you do question yourself: does it work? Will I ever be able? Oh yeah, I'm over this. I managed to get over this problem. In the beginning, I had it for the first year or so, I'd say, or a little bit longer. I had this problem that you start to question yourself: am I getting better? Is this even working for me? I don't know what's happening, because sometimes you understand more, then you understand less, and you feel you don't know if you're getting any better. But I'm over that, and right now it just feels like I have to continue and I'll make it. So the confidence is there, not the confidence that I'm good, but the confidence that if I continue like this, I'll be good in the future. So without talking too much nonsense, yeah, the experience. The people in the class they are all, I like them. It's a nice class. The teacher is pretty nice. She's Japanese, really cool lady, and so it's not to put them down because I spent a lot of time in Japanese. It was just interesting to see. So nothing against them. Most of them do this as a hobby. So not that anybody thinks that I'm trying to paint them in a bad light or so. But the situation was the following. I think we have 6 different levels we can take in our university, and I wasn't too sure, because every level takes half a year. So basically level 1 is for 1 semester, and I took the 3rd one. So roughly in the middle. 5th and 6th are rarely able to hold this level because there aren't enough people. So I took the 3rd one so I could take the 4th one if I want to, and they already did Terform, I think, at that point. Yeah, they already did, and went on to another grammar point. And what stuck out to me was they started whenever there was a new grammar point and they had to change a verb into Terform, stuff like that. And they started, we got our task, and everyone started, okay, this verb, I have to put it into Terform. So is it a do verb or is it a you verb? Okay, it is you verb, or do you know it? What is it? Okay, so I have to take this, change it into that, then change it into past, and then remove ta and add te. Okay, now we have it. Wow. Okay, and I sat next to them, and sometimes, or someone asked me, hey, do you know what form this is? Is it ru or is it you? And I just said, the verb in the end sounds like this. How do you know it? What form is it? I don't know. I read about that's the right form. I don't know. So I can't tell you which verb is ru or you verb. I read it in the beginning in Thai Kim's that there is this distinction, but I can't tell you for a single one. I really don't. I'm not even sure if it's do and you, or if there is a different one, just something like that, honestly. And that's the first time I really thought, wow, it's working again. Because if it's working in such a small scale that I don't have to think about it, and just it feels right that way. I don't know why. It's just that should be the right form. That should be Terform. That should be, I don't know. Yeah, and it started working in this small scale, so why shouldn't it work in a bigger scale? At a bigger scale. So yeah, that was pretty cool, and it's a small thing, and it was about half a year ago, but still it was the first time I thought, wow, it's working again, finally. Yeah, but overall with speaking, I think it will take a little bit of time. I don't know if I'll feel ready to speak at the 2-year mark to make my first time speaking Japanese video. I'm not too sure. Right now it still feels far away, but on the other hand, half a year is a really long time when I think back to the amount of progress I made from last video to this video. So there's a lot that can happen in this short amount of time. So maybe I'll feel ready. I don't really know. Yeah, but yeah, like I said, it's working slowly, getting better and better. Maybe I'll do a video. Like I said, I don't know. Other things about speaking, something that came up, pronunciation, word choice. Yeah, biggest problems I think I have right now when it comes to speaking. Not necessarily vocabulary. I think I have most of the vocabulary, but when I try to think about a sentence, I want to try to see if I can form it. I'm unsure about the words being used. Like I said, some sentences that I think I can say the right way it just feels correct, but I notice when I feel insecure about word choice, especially when it comes to verbs. So I want to express idea X, but I'm not sure if I have to use this verb together with in this situation. So that's basically the main problem I have, because the verb choice is a little bit different. So I don't really. So I'm a little bit careful with this one, since I notice that I'm unsure about the usage. Maybe I'm correct when I think about it, but I'm not sure. And if I'm not sure, I just don't try to create those sentences. So I feel like this is the main reason. Other things, yeah, nothing really. Maybe if I try to speak, I would notice that my mouth can't keep up. Like, it's the same problem in English. Right there. In English, I feel that my head is faster than my mouth, but that's pretty much the only thing. And I guess in Japanese, if I try to speak right now, it would be the same problem, that my mouth can't keep up with my head. But oh well. And I think that's also a reason why I don't feel. I'm not sure why I don't feel ready with Japanese, and I wouldn't even consider myself close to fluent or anything like that. Maybe I'm just tainted from my English experience, because in English I can watch anything and have no problem understanding it. And speaking, I don't have to think about what I'm saying. It just comes out without too much thought. Like I said last time, I don't know if it's correct or not, since I never got any corrections. So maybe I have a ton of grammar mistakes and strange vocab usage, but I never got feedback on that. But I feel pretty safe in English. Maybe someone can correct me on that one. Yeah, maybe this experience in English, how much I understand right there, tainted me a little bit, because my understanding of fluency, or what I think fluency is pretty high. So basically my level would be, I can pick up any book I want and understand it without a problem, except for cases where you pick a book about a scientific field you're not used to or so. That's a different story, sure, but that's not that much different from your native language. Yeah, and in speaking, the point when I'm able to express anything and describe stuff, if I don't know a word, use other words to describe the same idea without too much hassle and without taking 5 minutes to form a sentence. So I don't know, so this feeling, basically how I understand English, and the discrepancy in regards to Japanese, so how much I understand in Japanese, so maybe that's a little bit tainted through my experience, but I feel like I'm far off. But maybe 2 years and I'll be ready, but we'll have to see with that one. Maybe maybe I will be ready, or maybe I won't, and it will take a few months more or so. Okay, future changes. Yeah, I started, and that's what I want to continue, listening to audiobooks. I found a cool website and also a website for books. I'll link them below for anybody who's interested. And the first book I bought, I just had to do it. It isn't even a book that I've read before. I've never read Lord of the Rings, but I loved the films. So I saw they have had the first or all of the books in audio format, and I bought the first one. I've already listened to, let me get it up, I think about half of it. No, doesn't want what's going on. Just makes sense. So yeah, I'm about half through it. So I have it on my tablet. Does it work? No, it doesn't work. Oh, maybe you can see it a little bit. Oh well. So yeah, I bought this one, and I'm really happy. I can understand about 70% or so. In the beginning, there was a lot of stuff that's only in the books, so not in the movies, and where they explain the world, and so that's a little bit more complicated. But as soon as they start with the real story, so basically as soon as it revolves around Frodo and so on, I understand a lot. I'd say 70-80%, and I'm really, really happy with that. Sure, there are enough words I don't know, but I can follow it pretty much and even recognize, or I can even follow the parts that are not in the movies. I'm really surprised by that. And now I think I want to buy the books. But yeah, in regards to future changes, my change would be I want to start using audiobooks a little bit more, and especially I thought I want to try out the combo of I'll look for audiobook and then try to find an accompanying book, so I can basically read the book, mind the sentences, and later on listen to the audio to see that I can understand, so that I could get to a level where I can understand the audiobook as well as the normal book or something like that. I just want to try a combi, so basically, but let's say I'll sit down and read the book for an hour, and afterwards when I go shopping or so, I'll listen to the audio file for it and something like that. And I already found a few books combinations I want to try out, and even one, maybe some of you heard of it, just have to see in the saved files what it was called, because the one speaking the book makes a big difference. And this one right here, I'll link it below. The speaker is All Might from My Hero Academia, and that's awesome. I still haven't bought it. It's about strength training. Maybe not everybody's interested, but I still think having such a interesting voice speak to you is reason enough. What is it called? Cho Kinture ga Saikyo no Solution de Aru. Like I said, I'll link it down below, and maybe somebody's interested, but I think I'll buy it as soon as I finish Lord of the Rings and see how this one goes. Yeah, and I think that's the biggest change I want to make. Otherwise, like I said, I'll start adding more cards from anime, thanks to Morphman, and thanks to Matt's add-on. It's awesome. It saves me so much time. I love it. Yeah, so I'll continue adding cards as much as I can, 20 probably as the cap for now, and as soon as I get over 1 hour, I'll reduce the amount of cards I add, and I will start trying to watch more of those audiobooks. And otherwise, I won't change anything. Yeah, and start trying to read more books in general. So instead of reading news all the time, read more light novels and stuff like that, so I can get a little bit more vocabulary in this field. But I think that's it. That's pretty much what I want to do from now. So overall, my feeling right now, pretty good. Made huge improvements since last time, and I can't wait to see how much I'll improve in the next 6 months. And otherwise, my understanding, like I said, for books or for reading in general, 80% plus, depending on what I'm reading most of the time, and listening 70% up to 95% or even more, also depending on what I'm watching. So yeah, pretty good. I think it will continue like this, and now the improvements will be a little bit smaller, because I learned the most frequent words, so it will take a little bit longer to get those last few percent points I need to feel prepared, but I'm willing. I don't mind spending another year or so without talking, since improving my understanding is rewarding enough for me. So yeah, I guess that's about it. Changes how I feel about it. Yeah, that's it. So next time in March, end of March 2020, and maybe before, if I have any idea what I want to make. But right now, like I said, I'm a little bit busy, and yeah, then till next year.